This title is presented to you by Soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at Soundlibra.com. Welcome. Today, we introduce the superpower of patience.
And how cultivating this skill helps us gain more in life. Before we jump in, just a quick heads up that while we're discussing mental well-being, this isn't medical advice, so please consult a professional for your specific health needs.
Great point, Lisa. In our fast-paced world, patience feels like a lost art. We're bombarded with messages expecting immediate results, from online shopping to communication. Everything is designed for instant gratification.
It's true. A slow internet connection for a few seconds causes frustration. If a package isn't next day, we're disappointed. We've become accustomed to speed and instant results.
This constant demand for immediate satisfaction can hurt our well-being and success. It can lead to impulsivity, poor decision-making, and dissatisfaction because life naturally involves waiting.
So, is patience just about waiting around?
That's a common misconception. Patience isn't passive enduring of delays. It's an active skill. It's the ability to tolerate delay, manage frustration, and remain composed when faced with inconvenience or no immediate reward. It's about understanding that lasting things often take time.
So, it's more a mindset and practice than just being told to be patient. It's something we can cultivate.
Precisely. Think of it like a muscle. You wouldn't expect to lift heavy weights on your first gym day, right? You start small, building strength gradually. Patience is the same. We need to practice it in small ways to build mental and emotional resilience.
I like that analogy. What are some small ways we can start practicing patience daily?
Let's consider the core idea, resisting impulse. Every day we face small urges. The urge to check your phone for notifications or to respond instantly to an emotional email. The first step is simply noticing that impulse.
Just noticing it? That sounds deceptively simple.
It is, but it's incredibly powerful. By pausing for a moment before acting on an impulse, you create a tiny bit of space. In that space, you can choose a more considered response. Instead of reacting, you can deliberate. This is the beginning of rewiring our brain away from automatic, impulsive reactions.
So, instead of grabbing that cookie the second you see it, you pause and think, do I really want this right now? What are the consequences?
Exactly. Or with that email. Instead of sending a sharp reply, you pause, take a breath, and then compose a more thoughtful response. This simple act of pausing is a form of delayed gratification, even in a small way.
Delayed gratification. That's a term we'll hear a lot, I imagine.
You will. And it's a cornerstone of patience. It's understanding that foregoing an immediate, smaller reward can lead to a larger, more significant reward later. Think about saving money for a big purchase versus spending it impulsively. The patient saver gets the bigger prize.
It's all about looking beyond the immediate moment.
Yes, and when we practice these small moments of restraint, we begin to experience the initial benefits of slowing down. We often feel calmer, more in control, and less overwhelmed by demands for our immediate action.
It's like stepping off a treadmill that was going too fast. You feel the relief almost immediately.
That's a perfect way to put it. And this feeling of relief, of regaining control, is a powerful motivator to continue developing this skill. It reinforces that making deliberate choices, even small ones, is beneficial.
So, to recap our first episode, patience isn't passive waiting, but an active skill of tolerating delay and managing frustration. We're bombarded by instant gratification, but we can counter this by practicing simple pauses, noticing our impulses, and choosing considered responses. This is the first step towards delayed gratification and experiencing the benefits of a less rushed existence.
You've perfectly summarized it, Lisa. By consciously inserting these small pauses, we begin to train our brains to move away from knee-jerk reactions and toward more deliberate, beneficial actions. This is the foundation for everything we'll explore in this series.
It really sets the stage for what's to come.
Indeed. In our next episode, we'll look closer at the brain's response to instant gratification and how we can begin to actively rewire our reward circuits. Next episode, the brain on instant gratification, rewiring for reward. Welcome back. Last time we introduced patience. Now, let's understand the brain on instant gratification.
It's fascinating to understand why we crave immediate results.
Exactly. Today, we're exploring the brain on instant gratification, rewiring for reward. We'll uncover the neuroscience behind our constant pull towards immediate satisfaction.
So, Alex, my brain feels like it's constantly chasing the next shiny thing, the quickest answer, the fastest delivery. Is this just me being impatient, or is there something more fundamental going on?
Oh, it is absolutely fundamental, Lisa. Our brains are, in a sense, wired for the quick win. Think about our evolutionary past. When our ancestors found food, shelter, or safety, those were immediate rewards. Those who acted quickly to secure those things were more likely to survive and reproduce. So, there's a biological advantage to seeking out and responding to immediate rewards.
That makes sense. So, our brains are naturally programmed to go for the low-hanging fruit, so to speak.
Precisely. And a key player in this is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. You've probably heard of it. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but it's more accurately described as the reward prediction chemical. It's released when we anticipate a reward, driving us to seek it out. When we get that reward, dopamine levels spike, reinforcing the behavior.
So, it's not just about feeling good, but about training ourselves to go find more of whatever gave us that feeling?
Exactly. Think about it like this. Your brain gets a little dopamine notification saying, hey, that was good. Let's do that again. This creates a feedback loop. The more frequently we receive these quick rewards, the stronger that loop becomes.
And in today's world, those quick rewards are everywhere, aren't they? Social media likes, instant messages, the next video in a binge watch playlist, online shopping.
You've hit the nail on the head. Our modern environment provides an endless buffet of these immediate rewards, which constantly activates our dopamine system. This is where the concept of intermittent reinforcement comes into play.
Intermittent reinforcement? That sounds important. What does it mean?
It's a very powerful psychological principle. It means rewards are not given every single time. Instead, they're given unpredictably. Think about slot machines. You pull the lever, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. That unpredictability is what makes it so compelling and hard to stop.
I can see how that would be addictive. You're always chasing that next potential win.
Indeed. And this same principle applies to many things we find ourselves drawn to. That notification on your phone, it might be a message from a friend, or it might just be an app update. The uncertainty of the reward is what keeps you checking. This intermittent reinforcement is incredibly effective at shaping behavior and making it resistant to extinction.
So, our brains, evolved for a world of scarcity and immediate dangers, are now bombarded with near constant, unpredictable rewards. That sounds like a recipe for being perpetually distracted and driven by impulse.
It truly is. This constant seeking of immediate gratification can lead to what we might call reward deficiency in a broader sense. Not necessarily a clinical deficiency, but a state where our brains are less satisfied with longer-term, delayed rewards. They become accustomed to the quick dopamine hit.
It's like our reward system gets a sugar rush and then crashes, always craving the next fix. How does this wired for instant gratification brain impact our ability to practice patience?
Well, it creates a significant hurdle. Patience, by its very nature, involves delaying gratification. It means resisting an immediate reward in favor of a potentially larger or more meaningful one in the future. When our brains are so finely tuned to seek out the immediate dopamine spike, the idea of waiting for something, especially if the reward isn't guaranteed or is far off, becomes incredibly challenging.
So, when we're faced with a task that requires sustained effort for a later payoff, like studying for a test or working on a long-term project, our brain is essentially screaming, "Why wait? There are other things right now that will give me a dopamine hit."
Precisely. It's not a character flaw, it's neurobiology at play. Our brains are incredibly efficient at learning what gets rewarded. And when the environment constantly offers quick rewards, our brains learn that quick is good. This is why consciously rewiring for reward is so crucial for cultivating patience.
That makes me realize that patience isn't just about willpower. It's about understanding our brain's reward system and intentionally creating new pathways.
Exactly. We're not powerless against this biological wiring. We can, and we must, learn to consciously shift our focus and retrain our brains to appreciate and work towards delayed gratification. We need to understand these fundamental neurological drives before we can begin to implement strategies for change.
So, to recap for our listeners, our brains are wired by evolution to seek immediate rewards, and a key chemical, dopamine, drives this seeking behavior. Modern life offers a constant stream of these quick rewards, often through unpredictable, intermittent reinforcement, making us crave immediacy. This makes practicing patience, which involves delaying gratification, a real challenge.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Understanding these underlying mechanisms is the first, absolutely critical step in our journey to cultivate patience. It helps us to be less critical of ourselves and more informed about the powerful forces guiding our behavior.
I feel like I have a much clearer picture now of why patience feels like such an uphill battle.
And that awareness is the beginning of our rewiring process. We've examined the brain's natural inclination towards instant gratification, driven by dopamine and reinforced by intermittent rewards. This understanding is fundamental as we move forward. Thanks for listening. Next episode, Cultivating the Seed, Micro Moments of Mindfulness. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the brain's drive for instant gratification.
That's right, Alex. We discovered how our minds are wired for immediate rewards, making it tough to stick with longer-term goals. But today, we're starting to plant the seeds of patience in small ways.
Exactly. Today's episode is all about cultivating the seed of patience through micro moments of mindfulness. These are tiny opportunities throughout your day to practice being present and to simply wait without the urge to rush.
Micro moments. So, we're not talking about needing hours of meditation, right? It's about finding those little pockets of time.
Precisely. The goal is not to overhaul your life. It's to introduce simple, actionable techniques to weave into your existing day, building initial comfort with waiting.
Okay, what are some of these techniques?
Let's start with our breath. You can practice mindful breathing anywhere, anytime. When waiting for a web page, a traffic light, or a kettle, focus on your breath.
So, just breathe? It sounds almost too simple.
That's the beauty of it. Instead of fidgeting, bring awareness to the physical sensation of breathing. Notice the air, your chest rising and then falling. You don't need to change your breath, just observe it.
And what if our mind wanders?
That's normal. When you notice your mind drifting, acknowledge the thought without judgment. Then, kindly redirect your attention back to your breath. This practice of noticing your mind wander and returning is the essence of mindfulness.
So, the micro moment is about practicing the return.
Exactly. Each time you do that, you're strengthening your conscious awareness and your patience. You're telling your brain, I can be here in this moment of waiting and be okay.
That makes sense. What's another tool?
Mindful observation. This is about engaging your senses fully in an everyday activity. Think about that kettle boiling again. Really observe it. What do you see and hear?
So it's about transforming passive waiting into an active, sensory experience.
Yes, you could do this while walking. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the sensations. See the colors around you. Hear the sounds. Be fully present in the physical experience.
I can imagine doing this while waiting in line at the grocery store, focusing on the sounds or the feeling of my feet instead of stressing about the time.
Precisely. These are small, intentional shifts. You're not adding a new task. You're changing how you experience the waiting periods that are already there.
So we have mindful breathing and mindful observation. What else?
The third technique is intention setting for moments of waiting. Before you enter a situation where you'll have to wait, set a brief intention. For example, if you go to a waiting room, you might intend to be patient or to observe your surroundings or to notice three things you're grateful for.
That's a proactive way to approach it. It's like preparing your mind.
Exactly. It gives you an anchor when impatience arises. When you feel that stir of frustration, recall your intention. This simple act can diffuse irritable energy.
So, to recap, mindful breathing, where we focus on our breath, mindful observation, engaging our senses, and intention setting, preparing our minds for waiting.
You got it. These are foundations. They're about small, consistent practices to build your comfort and capability with life's pauses.
And the key is consistency. Even one or two of these micro moments, practiced daily, can make a difference.
Absolutely. Think of it like tending to a seedling. You water it a little each day. These micro moments are you watering the seed of your patience.
I love that analogy. It feels much more achievable. I can see myself trying to focus on my breath in traffic or observing something simple while waiting for coffee.
That's the spirit. Don't strive for perfection. Strive for practice. These small engagements with the present moment will begin to shift your relationship with waiting.
It feels like we're learning to find value in the pause, rather than just seeing it as lost time.
Precisely. And that's a profound shift. In our next episode, we'll focus on how this newfound patience can be a powerful tool for parents. Next episode, the Parent's Patience Playbook. Welcome back to the Patience Practice. Last time, we explored micro moments of mindfulness and how these tiny pauses can begin to rewire our brains. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches many of our lives, parenting.
Ah, yes, the ultimate real world test of patience. It's one thing to cultivate inner calm for ourselves, but doing it when you're sleep deprived and faced with a toddler demanding a blue crayon at 6 a.m.? That's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. Parenthood is a masterclass in delayed gratification and emotional regulation, both for the child and the parent. We're going to explore how to apply the principles of patience we've been discussing to nurturing our little humans and, by extension, building brighter futures for them.
So, Alex, when we talk about the Parents' Patience Playbook, what are the core challenges parents face that really test their patience? Beyond the obvious sleep deprivation, of course.
Great question, Lisa. One of the biggest is dealing with the inevitable frustrations that arise from a child's developmental stage. Think about tantrums. A young child's brain is still developing the ability to manage big emotions. They haven't yet learned the sophisticated self-regulation skills we're working on ourselves. So, when a child has a meltdown because they can't have a cookie before dinner, it's not defiance. It's often an expression of overwhelming feelings they don't yet know how to process.
That's a really important distinction. It's easy for parents to feel personally attacked or disrespected by these outbursts, but if we reframe it as a developmental challenge for the child, it can shift our own emotional response.
Precisely. And that shift is where patience comes in. Instead of reacting with immediate frustration or anger, which is our own primal response to perceived chaos, we can choose to respond with understanding. This means recognizing that the child is struggling and trying to help them navigate that struggle rather than just shutting down the behavior. Imagine a builder whose foundation is shaky. You don't yell at the house, you address the foundation.
So, how do we build that patient foundation with our children? What are some practical strategies?
A key strategy is modeling. Children learn by watching us. When we react patiently to a spilled drink, a missed bus, or even to their own challenging behaviors, we are teaching them what patience looks like in action. We're showing them that it's okay to feel frustrated, but that we can manage those feelings constructively. This is far more effective than simply telling them to be patient.
That makes so much sense. They're sponges. If they see us constantly sighing, getting flustered, and complaining about waiting, they'll internalize that as the normal way to handle life's little bumps.
Exactly. And this modeling builds resilience in them. When they see us navigate challenges with a calm demeanor, they learn that they can too. It's about cultivating a mindset where setbacks are seen not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and adapt. Another incredibly powerful tool is understanding developmental stages. Knowing what's age appropriate for a child's cognitive and emotional development can preempt a lot of frustration. For example, expecting a 2-year-old to share perfectly or understand complex instructions is setting ourselves up for disappointment.
I recall when my youngest was a toddler, the constant no was a test of wills. But I started to understand it was often about asserting their independence, not just being naughty. Shifting my expectation to understand that phase helped me respond with more patience.
That's a perfect example. And when we respond patiently, we reinforce a positive cycle. Instead of a power struggle, we can guide them. For instance, when they're insistent on something, a patient parent might say, I hear you want to do X. That's not possible right now because of Y. We can do Z instead, or we can try X later. This validates their feelings while setting necessary boundaries. It's about responding, not reacting. Reacting is impulsive, often driven by our own unmet needs or stress. Responding is thoughtful, considering the child's needs and the long-term impact of our actions.
Responding rather than reacting. That's a crucial concept we've touched upon throughout the series, and it feels especially potent in parenting. It's about creating a buffer between stimulus and response.
Absolutely. And this calm, thoughtful approach also fosters deeper connections. When a child feels understood and supported through their frustrations, they feel safe. This safety is the bedrock of secure attachment, which is vital for their emotional and social well-being throughout their lives. Think about it. Who do you want to go to with your problems? Someone who screams at you, or someone who listens and offers guidance?
Someone who listens, hands down. So, we're talking about modeling patience, understanding developmental stages, and choosing to respond rather than react. These all sound like actionable steps. But what about those moments when patience feels completely gone? When a child is pushing every single button?
Those moments are real, and it's okay to acknowledge them. In those instances, a moment of self-patience is crucial. That could look like stepping away for 30 seconds if you're in a safe environment, taking a deep breath, or even saying to your child, Mommy/Daddy needs a moment to take a deep breath. I'll be right back. This models that even adults need to self-regulate, and it prevents us from escalating the situation. It's also important to remember that our own well-being is linked to our patience. Ensuring we have breaks, seeking support, and practicing the mindfulness techniques we discussed earlier can be incredibly beneficial.
So, it's not about being a perfect, perpetually calm parent, but about cultivating a practice of patience and self awareness. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And by applying this parent's patience playbook, We're not just making our daily lives smoother. We're actively shaping our children's character. We're teaching them valuable life skills, emotional regulation, problem solving, and the understanding that good things often come to those who wait. This commitment to patience has a ripple effect, creating a more harmonious family environment and preparing our children to face the world with greater resilience and emotional intelligence.
It truly is about nurturing little humans and building big futures. The impact of a parent's patience extends far beyond the immediate moment. It's a legacy.
A legacy indeed. We've covered a lot about applying patience in parenting today. We talked about understanding child development to reframe frustrations, the power of modeling patient behavior, and the importance of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. We also touched on the need for parental self-care and embracing progress over perfection.
It's a powerful reminder that patience isn't just a virtue, it's a skill we can actively cultivate, especially in the demanding, yet rewarding, world of parenthood.
Next episode, we'll shift our focus to the professional arena and explore how patience plays a critical role in career advancement and navigating workplace challenges. Welcome back to the Patience Practice. Last time, we explored how patience can nurture our little humans and build big futures for them. Now, we're shifting our focus to a different kind of growth, our careers. Today, we're diving into episode 5, Career Climb or Crash, Patience in the Professional Arena.
That's a powerful title, Alex. It really highlights the stakes. In our fast-paced professional lives, it feels like we're constantly bombarded with the idea of the quick win or the overnight success. But is that the sustainable path?
Exactly. And it links back to what we discussed in episode 2 about our brains and that instant gratification loop. In a career context, chasing only those immediate rewards can sometimes lead to burnout or overlooking opportunities that require a bit more time and strategic thinking. Patience isn't about being slow, it's about being deliberate.
Deliberately moving forward, I like that. So, how does this deliberate approach translate into tangible career benefits?
Well, think about long-term projects, those that genuinely transform a company or create lasting impact rarely happen overnight. They require sustained effort, the ability to navigate unforeseen challenges, and the patience to see them through. Someone who can patiently manage a complex project, break it down into manageable steps, and keep their team motivated through the process is invaluable. This is about more than just ticking boxes. It's about building something of substance.
So, instead of just focusing on the next promotion or the immediate bonus, a patient professional is thinking about the foundational work that leads to bigger, more meaningful achievements down the line.
Precisely. And this also applies to skill development. Learning a new, complex skill, whether it's mastering a new software, becoming a better public speaker, or understanding a new market, takes time. There will be moments of frustration, plateaus where progress seems to halt. Patience here means trusting the process, continuing to practice, and not giving up when it gets tough. It's about embracing that learning curve.
That makes sense. It's like planting a seed. You don't expect a giant oak tree the next day. You nurture it, water it, and give it time to grow. And in a career, that nurturing might involve seeking out mentors, asking for feedback, and dedicating time to learning, even when it's not immediately tied to a promotion.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. And speaking of people, patience is absolutely critical in building and maintaining professional relationships. Think about networking, collaborating with colleagues, or managing teams. Rushing these interactions, being impatient with differing opinions, or expecting immediate trust can damage relationships and hinder career progression.
You're right. Trust is built over time through consistent actions and mutual understanding. Impatience can create a ripple effect of negativity. If you're impatient with a colleague, they might become defensive, and that can affect future collaborations.
Absolutely. And this often comes into play when we face career setbacks. We all experience them. A project doesn't go as planned, a promotion is missed, or a role isn't the right fit. How we react in those moments is a true test of our patience.
This is where that resilience we hear so much about comes in, isn't it? Patience allows us to process setbacks without being completely derailed. Instead of letting disappointment consume us, we can take a breath, analyze what happened, learn from it, and then patiently plot our next steps. It's about bouncing back stronger, not just faster.
Exactly. It's about understanding that a setback isn't a final destination, but a detour. A patient person will ask, "What can I learn from this?" rather than, "Why is this happening to me?" This mindset is crucial for long-term career success. It prevents us from making rash decisions out of frustration and allows for more strategic, thoughtful responses.
So, to recap what we discussed, patience in the professional arena isn't about being passive. It's about strategic, deliberate action. It's about valuing long-term projects and skill development over quick wins, understanding that trust and relationships are built over time, and developing the resilience to navigate setbacks by learning and adapting rather than reacting impulsively.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. It's about consistent, patient effort that creates compound growth in your career, much like compound interest in finance. Those who cultivate this practice are often the ones who achieve sustainable, meaningful success rather than a flash in the pan. They are able to climb steadily rather than crashing from trying to scale too quickly without a solid foundation.
It truly sounds like a superpower for navigating the modern workplace.
It really is. Next episode, the frustration foundation, understanding and navigating discomfort. Welcome back to the patience practice. Last time, we explored how patience is crucial in the professional arena. Today, let's tackle a topic that often feels like the direct opposite of patience: frustration. It's the bedrock upon which our impatience is built, and understanding it is key to navigating discomfort.
Right, Alex? We all feel frustrated, don't we? It's that edgy, uncomfortable feeling when things aren't going our way, or when we have to wait for something we want. Today, we're going to unpack what frustration really is, why it happens, and more importantly, how we can start to manage it without letting it derail us.
Exactly. So, let's start by defining frustration. At its core, frustration is an emotional response to being blocked or hindered from achieving a goal. Think about it. You're trying to assemble that flat pack furniture, and a piece just won't fit. Suddenly, your mood shifts. That's frustration kicking in.
It's a feeling of annoyance, often mixed with anger or disappointment, when we perceive an obstacle. And the more important the goal, the more intense that frustration can feel. It's like hitting a wall, and your immediate instinct is to push harder, right?
Precisely. And that instinct, that immediate urge to push harder or lash out, is where impatience often takes hold. Our brains are wired for quick rewards. When we encounter a roadblock, our internal system flags it as a problem that needs an immediate solution. If that solution isn't readily available, frustration escalates.
So, it's not just about the obstacle itself, but our brain's reaction to it and the unmet expectation of a smooth, easy path. What happens to us physically and emotionally when we feel frustrated?
Good question. Frustration triggers a physical stress response. You might notice your heart rate picking up, your muscles tensing, maybe even a feeling of heat rising in your chest. Emotionally, it can manifest as irritability, short temper, and a generally negative outlook. It's our body's alarm system, signaling that something is wrong.
And left unchecked, that alarm can really escalate. It's like a snowball rolling downhill, picking up speed and size. The more we resist the feeling of frustration or try to immediately push past it without acknowledging it, the worse it can become.
That's a great analogy, Lisa. And that's exactly why understanding frustration is the foundation for building patience. If we can learn to recognize that feeling, to understand it's a natural signal, we can start to decouple it from impulsive, impatient reactions. We establish a little bit of space between the feeling and our action.
So, it's about not letting that snowball run away from us. How do we start to do that? What are some ways to begin recognizing and tolerating this discomfort without immediately trying to escape it?
The first step is awareness. Simply noticing the physical and emotional signs of frustration as they arise. Instead of immediately thinking, "This is so annoying, I can't stand this," try reframing it to yourself. "Okay, I'm noticing my jaw is clenched. My heart rate is up. This feels like frustration."
That internal observation sounds helpful. It's like stepping back slightly to observe the phenomenon, rather than being completely swallowed by it.
Exactly. And then we practice tolerating it. This doesn't mean liking it or embracing it. It means allowing the feeling to be present without needing to immediately fix it or escape from it. Imagine it like a wave. It rises, it crests, and eventually it will recede. If you try to stop the wave, you'll only fight a losing battle. But if you learn to ride it, you can eventually reach the shore.
So, instead of trying to push the obstacle away or getting angry at the situation, we allow the feeling of frustration to exist. This sounds counterintuitive, though. Our natural inclination is to get rid of unpleasant feelings.
It absolutely is. And that's why this is a practice. It takes conscious effort. Think about that feeling of being stuck. You want to immediately unstick yourself. But for a moment, can you just be with the feeling of being stuck? What does it feel like? What do you feel in your body?
So, when I'm waiting in a long line at the grocery store and that familiar impatience starts to bubble up, instead of sighing loudly and checking my watch every 2 seconds, I could consciously say to myself, "Okay, I'm noticing the frustration. It feels like a tightness in my chest. This is just a feeling. It will pass."
That's a perfect example. And by doing that, you're building your tolerance for discomfort. You're teaching your brain that not every unpleasant feeling requires an immediate action or an outburst. This is where we start to build resilience, a concept we touched on in episode 1 introduction. Patience and resilience are deeply connected.
I remember that. Resilience is about bouncing back. So, learning to tolerate frustration is like building up our ability to withstand the impact of obstacles without breaking.
Yes, and it's about recognizing that frustration is often a catalyst, not a dead end. It can be a signal that something needs attention, but it doesn't have to dictate an impulsive response. For instance, if a project at work is proving much harder than expected, frustration might arise. Instead of immediately complaining or giving up, that frustration can prompt a deeper look. What specifically is the roadblock? Do I need to ask for help? Is there a different approach I can try?
So, it shifts from a purely emotional reaction to a prompt for problem solving, but in a considered way, not a panicked one. It's about allowing the frustration to inform us rather than control us.
Exactly. And this principle applies to all areas of life. Think about teaching a child a new skill. They're going to get frustrated. As parents or guardians, our job isn't to jump in and do it for them immediately, which would offer instant relief but hinder their learning. It's to help them navigate that frustration, to encourage them to try again, to offer support without taking over.
That makes so much sense. We're essentially creating a safe space for them to experience and work through that discomfort, which is a vital life skill they'll carry with them.
And for ourselves, it means becoming more comfortable with imperfection, with slower progress, and with the inherent challenges of life. We're building that inner strength, that capacity to stay calm and focused when things get tough.
So, to recap, frustration is our emotional response to being blocked. It triggers a physical stress response and can lead to impatience. By learning to recognize the signs of frustration, we can begin to tolerate the feeling without needing immediate action. This builds our resilience and creates space for thoughtful responses instead of impulsive ones.
You nailed it, Lisa. This practice of tolerating frustration, of building the discomfort threshold, is absolutely fundamental to cultivating patience. It's not about avoiding frustration, but about changing our relationship with it. We're reframing it from an enemy to a signal and learning to ride the wave instead of fighting it.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. Learning to sit with discomfort rather than immediately fleeing from it is a game changer for patients.
Absolutely. And we'll build on this foundation of understanding discomfort in our next episode, where we'll explore delayed gratification and the famous marshmallow test.
Looking forward to it. Next episode, Delayed Gratification Decoded, the Marshmallow Test, and beyond.
Welcome back to the Patience Practice. Last time, we explored the frustration foundation, understanding why discomfort often arises when we have to wait. Now, we're diving deep into a concept that directly addresses that delayed gratification.
Delayed gratification. It sounds simple, right? Waiting for something good instead of grabbing it now. But the science and psychology behind it are fascinating and, frankly, incredibly powerful for our lives.
Absolutely, Lisa. And when we talk about delayed gratification, one of the most famous experiments that comes to mind is the marshmallow test. It's an absolute classic in psychology.
Ah, yes. The marshmallow test. For anyone who might not know, can you give us the quick rundown, Alex?
Of course, in the original studies conducted by psychologist Walter Mischel, children were offered a choice. They could have one marshmallow or treat right away. Or if they waited for a short period, about 15 minutes, without eating the first treat, they would get a second one. So, two marshmallows instead of one.
And the goal was to see how well these young children could resist the immediate reward for a larger reward later. It's a test of impulse control, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a direct measure of the ability to delay gratification. Now, what they found was that the children who were able to wait for the second marshmallow, the ones who exhibited that self-control, tended to have better outcomes later in life.
Better outcomes is a broad term. What kind of outcomes are we talking about?
The follow-up study showed that those who could delay gratification had better academic success, were more socially competent, had healthier lifestyles, and were generally more successful in achieving their goals throughout their lives. It was a remarkably strong predictor.
That's incredible. It suggests that this basic ability, learned early on, has ripple effects for decades. It's like building a strong foundation.
Precisely. And it highlights this fundamental tension we all face. The pull of the immediate pleasure versus the promise of a greater reward down the line. Think about it, Lisa, we encounter this constantly.
Oh, all the time. For me, it's the temptation to scroll through social media when I have a big project deadline looming. The immediate distraction is so easy, but the delayed gratification is finishing that project and feeling accomplished, or getting that promotion.
That's a perfect example. Or for students, it's choosing to study for an exam tonight instead of going out with friends. The immediate fun versus the delayed reward of a good grade or learning the material well.
So, how does this work in our brains? What's happening internally when we choose the delayed reward?
Well, at its core, it involves the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and impulse control. When we practice delaying gratification, we're essentially strengthening those neural pathways. We're learning to override the more primitive, reward-seeking parts of our brain that just want that instant hit of pleasure.
So, it's not just a willpower thing. It's a brain training exercise, in a way.
It is. And the good news is, it's a skill that can be developed. Building on what we discussed in episode 3, Those micro moments of mindfulness can actually help us here. When we practice noticing our impulses without immediately acting on them, we're creating space.
That space is crucial, isn't it? It's that pause between the urge and the action.
Exactly. And in that pause, we can ask ourselves, is this immediate reward worth sacrificing the bigger, better reward later? This is where setting clear goals and visualizing the long-term benefits becomes so important. If you have a picture in your mind of what you're working towards, it's much easier to resist the stray marshmallow.
So, it's about making that delayed reward tangible, even if it's not here yet.
Yes, and it's also about building trust in the process. If you've set up a system for delayed gratification, you need to trust that the reward will indeed materialize. This is where consistency is key. Think of saving money. The immediate gratification is buying that new gadget. The delayed gratification is financial security, a down payment on a house, or a comfortable retirement.
It can be hard to visualize that far ahead, though, especially when the immediate want feels so strong.
It can, and that's where strategies come in. Strategies like pre-commitment. This is essentially making it harder for yourself to give in to temptation. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, you might pack your lunch the night before, so you don't have the impulsive choice to buy something unhealthy at lunchtime.
That's smart. You remove the temptation before it even arises.
Right. Another technique is to break down that big, delayed reward into smaller, intermediate rewards. This keeps motivation high along the way. It's like climbing a mountain. You celebrate reaching each base camp, not just the summit. We touched on this with micro moments, but it applies here too.
So, for someone trying to learn a new skill, a complex one that takes months or years, maybe they celebrate completing a chapter or mastering a specific technique.
Precisely. It makes the journey feel more manageable and rewarding, and it reinforces that the effort is paying off. This also helps in professional settings. For instance, a project that takes months to complete. The immediate gratification might be checking emails or getting that quick win on a small, unrelated task. The delayed gratification is launching that successful project, getting a promotion, or seeing your team's hard work pay off.
And the marshmallow test research showed that the ability to delay gratification at a young age was linked to success partly because these individuals developed better coping mechanisms for stress and frustration. They didn't get derailed as easily by setbacks.
That's a critical point. Delayed gratification isn't just about waiting. It's about developing resilience. It's about understanding that not everything worth having comes instantly. And when you've practiced this skill, you're better equipped to handle the inevitable challenges that life throws your way. You're less likely to make impulsive decisions that you'll regret later.
So, to recap, delayed gratification is the ability to resist an immediate reward for a larger or more enduring reward later. Classic studies like the marshmallow test show a strong link between this ability and long-term success in various areas of life.
And we can cultivate this skill by strengthening our prefrontal cortex through mindful pauses, visualizing our long-term goals, using pre-commitment strategies to remove temptations, and celebrating small, intermediate wins along the way. It's about building trust in the process and developing resilience.
It really makes you think about the choices we make every day, big and small. Are we choosing the stray marshmallow or the two treats?
Indeed. Next episode, we'll explore the art of the wait, transforming passive waiting into an active, mindful practice. Welcome back to the patience practice. Last time, we dove deep into the fascinating world of delayed gratification.
It really was eye-opening, Alex. Understanding that the ability to wait for something better is a powerful predictor of success. But what about the waiting we can't avoid? Those everyday moments where we're stuck in line, stuck in traffic, or just waiting for a result. It can feel so passive and frustrating.
That's precisely what we're tackling today. We're shifting our perspective from passive waiting to active, mindful waiting. It's about recognizing that even in moments of apparent inactivity, there's an opportunity for growth and connection. We can transform the chore of waiting into a conscious, enriching practice.
Mindful waiting as an active practice? That sounds like a wonderful reframe. How do we even begin to do that? Because right now, my first instinct when I'm stuck is usually to reach for my phone or just fume internally.
And that's a common reaction. Our brains are wired for instant gratification, remember? So the first step is simply acknowledging the moment. Instead of fighting the feeling of waiting, lean into it. Ask yourself, what is happening right now?
Just observing the present moment, like noticing the people around me in line or the rhythm of the traffic lights.
Exactly. It's about bringing your awareness to your surroundings and your internal state without judgment. Think of it as a mini meditation. You can focus on your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your lungs. Notice the subtle rise and fall of your chest or abdomen. This simple act anchors you in the present and pulls you out of that anxious, when will this be over, mindset.
So instead of checking my watch for the 10th time, I can focus on my breath. That's a tangible action I can take.
Precisely. And you can extend that awareness outward. If you're in a queue, observe the details. The colors of people's clothing, the sounds around you, the patterns on the floor. It's about discovering the richness in ordinary moments that we usually rush past. This isn't about liking the act of waiting itself, but about appreciating the stillness it offers.
It's like finding a hidden pause button in our busy lives. And what about those longer waits, like waiting for important news, a job application outcome, or even a medical test result? Those feel much harder to just be present with because the outcome carries so much weight.
Those are definitely more challenging, and that's where patience truly shines. For those situations, mindful waiting becomes about cultivating inner resilience and self-compassion. We can use waiting periods as opportunities for reflection. What have you learned from past experiences? What are your values driving this particular goal?
So, instead of dwelling on the anxiety of the unknown, I can use that time for introspection to reconnect with my purpose.
That's a powerful way to put it. You can also use this time for learning. Many people listen to podcasts or audiobooks during their commutes, right? You can do that in any waiting situation. Learn a new skill, listen to an inspiring story, or even just enjoy a piece of music. Turn that lost time into productive learning time.
That's a great point. I often feel like I don't have enough time to read or listen to educational content. So, instead of lamenting the wait, I can see it as an unexpected gift of time.
Absolutely. And think about appreciation. When you've experienced a long wait, the eventual arrival or resolution often feels much more satisfying. Mindful waiting helps us cultivate that appreciation. We can consciously focus on gratitude. Perhaps you're grateful for the opportunity to even be waiting for something important, indicating a goal you're striving for.
That's a beautiful perspective shift. Instead of focusing on the delay, focus on the thing you're waiting for and the fact that you have the capacity to pursue it.
Right. And for those really tough waits, the ones filled with uncertainty, we can practice guided visualization. Imagine the positive outcome you desire, not in a forced or anxious way, but with a sense of calm confidence. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about reinforcing a positive mental state.
So, to summarize, it sounds like mindful waiting isn't about passively enduring these moments, but about actively engaging with them. We can use our breath to anchor ourselves, observe our surroundings with curiosity, reflect on our goals and values, engage in learning, cultivate gratitude, and even use visualization to foster resilience.
You've hit on the key elements, Lisa. The essence of mindful waiting is recognizing that waiting isn't a void, it's a space. And it's up to us to decide how we fill that space. We can fill it with frustration and impatience, or we can fill it with awareness, learning, and appreciation. It's about making the internal shift that transforms the experience.
It's truly an art, and an art that can bring so much more peace and fulfillment to our daily lives, even in the most mundane moments.
Indeed, by embracing the art of the wait, we're not just passing time. We're investing in ourselves, our well-being, and our ability to navigate life with greater grace.
That's a powerful takeaway. I'm already thinking about my next commute and how I'll approach it differently.
Wonderful. We've now explored the foundations of patience, from understanding instant gratification to cultivating mindful practices in waiting. Next episode, resilience through restraint.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. Last time we covered the art of the wait, mindful waiting as an active practice. Now let's tackle resilience through restraint.
That's a fantastic focus, Alex, because it feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? We often think of resilience as being strong or fighting back, but you're saying restraint, a lack of immediate action, is key.
Exactly, Lisa. Think about it. When something goes wrong or we face a setback, our initial, often impatient, reaction might be to lash out, to give up, or to make a quick, ill-conceived decision. This is the opposite of restraint. It's giving in to that instant gratification we talked about way back in episode 2.
Right. So, if impatience is like a wildfire of impulse, then patience or restraint is like building a fire break. It stops the immediate destruction and gives us space to assess.
That's a great analogy. And this space is crucial for building resilience. When we resist that urge to react impulsively, we're actually training our brains. We're strengthening our ability to tolerate discomfort, which we touched on in episode 6 when we discussed the frustration foundation. Remember how we talked about recognizing that feeling of frustration without immediately acting on it?
Oh, yes. That was so helpful. It's like acknowledging the storm clouds are gathering, but not immediately running for cover or trying to stop the rain with your bare hands. You just observe them and know they'll pass.
Precisely. And by observing, by not letting the immediate frustration dictate our actions, we build something called mental fortitude. It's like exercising a muscle. The more we practice not giving in to impatience, the stronger our ability to handle difficult situations becomes. We learn that we can endure delays, that we can overcome obstacles, and that our initial emotional response isn't the final word.
So, being patient in a difficult moment isn't about being passive. It's about being actively in control of your reactions. It's a form of inner strength, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about delaying gratification when it's not beneficial. Remember the marshmallow test in episode 7? Children who could wait for a second marshmallow developed better life outcomes. This wasn't just about candy. It was about self-control. And self-control, that ability to delay an immediate reward for a greater future reward, is a cornerstone of resilience.
So, when we choose patience over impulsivity, we're essentially saying, okay, this is tough right now, but I have the capability to get through this without making things worse.
Exactly. And with each instance of exercising that restraint, we reinforce that belief in ourselves. We gain confidence in our ability to navigate challenges. This builds what we call resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. When you face a setback and you've practiced mindful waiting and restraint, you're less likely to be completely derailed. You'll feel the disappointment, yes, but you'll also access that inner strength you've cultivated. You'll know that this is a temporary situation, not a permanent defeat.
It sounds like patience acts as a buffer against the harshest impact of failure or disappointment. Instead of being flattened by it, you're able to absorb the shock and then spring back up.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it's not just about bouncing back from individual events. Practicing patience also helps us develop a more realistic outlook. Impatience often stems from unrealistic expectations, expecting things to happen instantly or expecting them to be easy. When reality doesn't match these impatient expectations, we feel that gap intensely.
which can lead to discouragement and a feeling of being overwhelmed, making it harder to bounce back.
Precisely. But when we cultivate patience, we start to accept that progress takes time, that there will be hurdles. This acceptance softens the blow when things don't go as planned. It allows us to see setbacks not as failures, but as learning opportunities. And learning is a huge part of resilience. Every lesson learned makes us more equipped for the next challenge.
So, even though it might feel like we're just waiting when we practice patience, we are actually actively building something vital for our long-term well-being. We're building our capacity to withstand and recover from adversity.
Absolutely. It's an investment. Every moment you choose to breathe, to think before you act, to embrace the discomfort of delay, you're investing in your future resilience. You're building a stronger, more adaptable self. Think of it as fortifying your inner structure. When the storms come, your foundations are solid.
It's really empowering to think about it that way, that what might seem like a passive act, waiting, holding back an urge, is actually a powerful, active process of becoming more resilient.
And this connects back to so many things we've discussed. It ties into our earlier conversations about the brain on instant gratification. By choosing restraint, we're actively rewiring those immediate reward pathways in our brain, opting for the deeper, more sustainable rewards of perseverance and eventual success. It's about mastering those micro moments of mindfulness, where we pause and observe our impulses and then consciously choose a different, more patient path.
So, to recap for our listeners, patience through restraint isn't about being a doormat or passively accepting bad situations. It's an active, conscious choice to control our reactions, tolerate discomfort, and learn from setbacks. This deliberate practice builds mental fortitude and a stronger capacity to bounce back from life's inevitable challenges.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. We are building resilience by choosing restraint. It's the unsaid superpower that helps us not just survive difficulties, but truly thrive in their aftermath.
Fantastic. So, in our next episode, we're going to look forward and explore how patience helps us build towards significant, long term goals. We'll be talking about long term vision and planting seeds for compound growth.
Looking forward to it. Next episode, long-term vision, planting seeds for compound growth. Welcome back to the Patience Practice. Last time, we explored how building resilience through restraint helps us bounce back stronger from setbacks. Now, plant those seeds for compound growth.
It's exciting to think about planting seeds, Alex, and watching them grow into something substantial. That's really where patience shines, isn't it? When we're not expecting immediate results, but we're committed to a process.
Absolutely, Lisa. This episode is all about that deliberate, patient approach to achieving significant, long-lasting goals. We're going to talk about why focusing on the long-term vision is so crucial and how patience is the engine that drives it. Think about it. Almost every truly great achievement in history wasn't an overnight success. It was the result of consistent effort over extended periods.
That makes so much sense. It's like building a skyscraper. You don't just wake up one morning and have a skyscraper. It takes years of planning, laying foundations, building floor by floor. If you only focused on the first floor, you'd never get to the top.
That's a perfect analogy, Lisa. And that's what we mean by compound growth. It's not just linear progress. It's progress that builds on itself, accelerating over time. This concept, compound growth, is fundamental to achieving big things. Whether it's in finance, skill development, or even relationships, consistent, Patient effort applied over time yields results that are far greater than the sum of individual efforts.
So, it's not just about doing something consistently, but about how that consistent action leads to exponential gains. Can you give us an example?
Certainly. Let's take financial growth. If you save a small amount of money consistently each month and it earns interest, that interest starts earning interest, and so on. Over years, this compounding effect can turn small, regular savings into a substantial nest egg. It doesn't happen quickly, and that's where patience is key. You have to trust the process, even when the initial growth seems slow.
Right.
It's easy to get discouraged in the early stages when the numbers aren't jumping out at you. You might think, is this even worth it? But the power is in continuing.
Exactly. And this applies to skill development too. Imagine learning a musical instrument. You practice scales, you learn chords, you work on technique. Each practice session builds on the last. You don't become a virtuoso in a week. It takes thousands of hours of patient, focused practice. But with each hour, your ability compounds. Your fingers move more smoothly, your understanding of music deepens, and your ability to express yourself grows exponentially.
It's about embracing the marathon, not just the sprint. We often get caught up in wanting instant results, and that can lead us astray. This episode is about countering that short-term thinking.
Precisely. Short-term thinking can lead us to make impulsive decisions that derail our long-term progress. In our careers, for instance, we might jump at a slightly higher salary offer today, only to find ourselves in a dead-end role that doesn't foster growth or provide long-term satisfaction. A patient approach would involve evaluating opportunities based on their potential for future development, not just immediate reward. We would look for roles that offer learning, mentorship, and upward mobility, even if the starting salary isn't the absolute highest.
So, the long-term vision acts as a compass, guiding our daily decisions and preventing us from getting sidetracked by shiny, but ultimately less valuable opportunities.
Yes, it provides clarity and purpose. When you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve in the future, say 5, 10, or 20 years down the line, it becomes much easier to make the right choices today. You can ask yourself, does this action move me closer to my long-term goal, or does it take me further away? This perspective shift is incredibly powerful.
It sounds like cultivating this long-term vision requires a certain level of discipline and an ability to delay gratification. We've touched on delayed gratification before, but here it feels like the application of that principle to bigger life goals.
Absolutely. The marshmallow test, which we discussed earlier, is a microcosm of this. Children who could wait for a second marshmallow demonstrated a key trait for future success. They understood that foregoing immediate pleasure could lead to a greater reward later. Applying this to our lives means consciously choosing actions that contribute to our future well-being, even when it requires sacrifice or effort in the present. This might mean putting in extra hours at work to gain a new skill or foregoing a luxury purchase to save for a down payment on a home.
It's also about building momentum. When you see your efforts starting to compound, even in small ways, it fuels your motivation to continue. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, but it gathers more snow and picks up speed as it goes.
That's a fantastic image, Lisa. The snowball of compound growth. And this momentum is a crucial antidote to the impatience that plagues so many of us. When we see tangible, albeit gradual, progress, it reinforces our belief in the process and in our ability to achieve our goals. This is where patience truly becomes a superpower, enabling us to persist through inevitable challenges and plateaus.
So, to recap, planting seeds for compound growth involves having a clear long-term vision, understanding that consistent patient effort compounds over time, making choices that prioritize future rewards over immediate gratification, and using that compounding momentum to fuel further progress.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from the immediate to the enduring. It's about recognizing that the most valuable achievements are often built brick by painstaking brick, with patience as the mortar holding it all together. By planting these seeds with patience and diligence, We cultivate a future rich with the fruits of our sustained efforts.
It really reframes challenges not as obstacles, but as necessary steps in a longer, more rewarding journey.
And that, for me, is the essence of cultivating a long-term vision. It's a mindset shift that pays dividends across every aspect of life.
Well said, Alex. It's powerful stuff, and it sets you up for deeper connections.
Indeed, it does. Next episode, we'll be exploring patience in relationships and how understanding and empathy deepen connections.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the Patience Practice. We're diving deep into how patience transforms our most important connections, our relationships.
Alex, we've talked about patience as a personal superpower in careers and daily frustrations. But the real test often comes when interacting with others.
Absolutely. We live in a world that often encourages instant reactions. We want immediate responses, quick solutions, and fast progress in relationships. But genuine connection takes time. It takes patience.
So, how does patience help in relationships? Beyond just not yelling when someone forgets a chore.
Well, that's a part of it. But on a deeper level, patience is the foundation of understanding and empathy. When you're patient with someone, you give them space to be themselves, flaws, and all. You're not rushing to judgment.
That makes sense. It's like giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Instead of assuming the worst, you're open to understanding their perspective.
Exactly. Imagine a moment of conflict. Your partner says something that hurts or frustrates you. An impatient response might be defensive, accusatory, or to shut down. It escalates the situation.
And that's what we often see, right? A small misunderstanding turning into a huge fight because neither person pauses to truly listen.
Precisely. But if you bring patience to that moment, you pause. You take a breath. You try to understand why they said what they said. Are they stressed? Tired? Expressing an unmet need? This active, patient listening is crucial. Remember mindfulness in episode 3? This is that practice applied to our interactions.
So, patience allows us to move from reacting to responding. It gives us the mental space to choose a more constructive way to handle difficult situations.
It does. And this leads directly to deeper connections. When people feel truly heard and understood by you, they feel safe. They open up more. They trust you more. This is true in romantic partnerships, friendships, and family bonds. Think back to episode 4, our discussion on parenting. The most impactful lessons we teach children about navigating relationships often start with us modeling patient interaction.
That's a great callback to parenting. So, beyond listening, what else does patience look like in relationships?
It's also about accepting imperfections. No one is perfect, and neither are their communication styles or habits. Patience allows us to accept our loved ones for who they are, not who we wish they were. It's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey, with their own challenges. Building on episode 10 about long-term vision, relationships require patient cultivation for compound growth, not quick fixes.
That's powerful. Patience in relationships isn't about tolerating bad behavior, but about understanding that people are human and have their own struggles. It fosters forgiveness.
Absolutely. Forgiveness is a direct byproduct of patience. When we are patient, we're less likely to hold grudges. We can let go of minor grievances because we understand that everyone makes mistakes. This is so important for the health and longevity of any relationship.
I think a lot of people struggle with this because they equate patience with being passive or a doormat. But it sounds like you're saying true patience in relationships is actually an active, engaged approach.
That's a crucial distinction, Lisa. Patience is not about enduring something passively. It's an active choice to engage with understanding, empathy, and a willingness to work through challenges together. It's about choosing connection over conflict, even when it's difficult. When we practice patience, we are actively choosing to build a stronger foundation.
So, for someone listening who wants to be more patient in their relationships, what are some concrete strategies?
Great question. First, practice mindful pauses. Before reacting, especially in tense moments, take a breath. Ask yourself, what is my immediate impulse? And is that serving the relationship? Then, consciously choose a more thoughtful response.
The pause is key. And I also think setting realistic expectations is important. We can't expect everyone to be on our wavelength all the time.
Excellent point. Realistic expectations are vital. And related to that is practicing empathy. Try to truly put yourself in the other person's shoes. Ask yourself, how might they be feeling right now?
And if I'm struggling with patience, like in a recurring disagreement, what then?
This is where structured communication can help. We discussed building resilience through restraint in episode 9. Apply that here. Instead of bottling things up or exploding, find a calm time to talk. Express your feelings using I statements. For example, I feel unheard when X happens rather than you never listen to me. This is about expressing your truth gently, with patience for the other person to hear it.
That I statement makes such a difference. It focuses on your experience without blaming the other person, which can really de escalate things.
It absolutely can. And remember the concept of delayed gratification from episode 7? Apply that to relationship challenges. Instead of demanding an immediate fix for a problem, be willing to work at it over time. Relationships are marathons, not sprints. They require ongoing effort and, yes, consistent patience.
So, to recap, patience in relationships isn't about being passive. It's an active practice of understanding, empathy, and calm communication. It means giving people space, accepting imperfections, and being willing to work through challenges collaboratively. It fosters trust, safety, and deeper, more meaningful connections.
Exactly. By intentionally practicing patience, we're not just making our interactions smoother. We're building stronger, more resilient, and more loving bonds with the people who matter most to us. It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves and others.
It really is about nurturing those connections, isn't it? And that takes time, effort, and a whole lot of patience.
It does. In our next episode, we'll be putting all of these lessons into practice as we explore the Patience Toolkit, integrating strategies for lifelong learning and growth. Welcome back. We're assembling your personal patience toolkit.
It's like gathering all the ingredients and tools to bake a cake. We've learned the core concepts, and now we'll learn how to put them into practice.
Exactly. Our journey has taken us from understanding instant gratification to cultivating mindfulness and building resilience. Remember the marshmallow test in episode 7? That was a powerful illustration of delayed gratification.
Oh, absolutely. And then, in episode 8, we reframed waiting not as a passive experience, but as an active practice. That really stuck with me, making waiting a conscious choice.
Precisely. So, how do we integrate these concepts into a usable toolkit? I think a great starting point is self-awareness. Ask yourself, where do I typically struggle with patience the most? Is it traffic? Waiting for a response? With loved ones?
That's a smart first step. Identifying those specific trigger points makes it much less overwhelming. Instead of just saying, I need to be more patient, you can identify, I need patience when my child asks me the same question for the third time.
Right? And once you've identified a challenging area, you can pull specific tools. For instance, if you know you tend to get frustrated in lines, you can prepare. Before you leave the house, decide to bring a book, download a podcast, or simply commit to practicing mindful breathing while you wait. That's taking the idea of mindful waiting and making it practical.
So, a tool could be preparation for waiting scenarios. And another tool might be the pause button. We've touched on this throughout, but consciously taking a breath or even a few seconds before reacting when you feel that surge of impatience. It gives your brain a chance to catch up with your emotions.
That's a perfect addition to the toolkit, the pause button. It's simple, effective, and can be used anywhere, anytime. And building on that, let's add mindful observation. When you feel impatience rising, instead of immediately acting on it, try to observe the feeling. What do you feel in your body? What thoughts are going through your mind? This detachment helps reduce the power of the emotion.
That's like stepping outside the storm to watch it, rather than being caught in the middle of it. So we have self-assessment, preparation for waiting, the pause button, and mindful observation. What's next?
Let's consider active listening as a tool, especially when we're talking about relationships, which we covered in episode 11. So often, impatience flares when we feel unheard or misunderstood. Practicing truly listening to understand, rather than just to respond, can de-escalate so many frustrating situations.
That's a great point. It requires a conscious effort to quiet our own internal monologue and focus on the other person. And I also think reframing expectations is a crucial tool. We've sometimes experienced impatience because our expectations were unrealistic. Remember the compound growth idea from episode 10? Real change and growth rarely happens overnight.
Absolutely. Reframing expectations helps us appreciate the gradual progress. It's about understanding that compound growth, whether it's in financial investments or personal development, takes time. So, as part of our toolkit, let's include cultivating realistic timelines. This is about acknowledging that significant achievements or changes often require consistent effort over extended periods.
So, to recap our growing toolkit: 1. Self-awareness. Identify your impatience triggers. 2. Preparation. Plan for potential waiting periods. 3. The pause button. Create space before reacting. 4. Mindful observation. Detach from and observe the feeling. 5. Active listening. Focus on understanding others. 6. Reframing expectations. Cultivate realistic timelines. Do you have any other key tools you want to add, Alex?
Yes, I think one more is essential for lifelong practice: scheduled reflection. This means setting aside a few minutes, perhaps daily or weekly, to review your progress with these tools. What worked well? What challenges did you face? This regular check-in reinforces the learning and allows you to adapt your approach.
Scheduled reflection. That ties back beautifully to the idea of patience as a practice, not a destination. It's about continuous improvement. And if we combine all these, we're building a robust system for managing impatience and fostering a more patient outlook.
Exactly. This toolkit isn't about being perfect instantly. It's about having a set of reliable strategies to draw upon when you need them. It's about building that internal resilience we talked about in episode 9, where discomfort doesn't derail you, but instead you can navigate it with a little more grace and wisdom. The quiet strength gained from these practices is truly invaluable.
It's about making patience an intentional, integrated part of life, rather than a fleeting wish. These tools empower us to slow down, to gain more clarity, and to build deeper, more meaningful experiences.
Indeed, and as we move towards the end of our series, remember that this is just the beginning of your journey with the patience practice. Use these tools, adapt them, and keep practicing. The rewards of a patient life are truly profound. Next episode: the future of patience, sustaining the practice in a fast-paced world. Welcome back to the Patience Practice. Last time, we equipped ourselves with a comprehensive toolkit of strategies to build and sustain our patience. Today, we examine the future of patience in a rapidly accelerating world. How do we keep this vital skill alive amidst constant change?
That's such a crucial question, Alex. It feels like every new advancement pulls us further away from the quiet space of patience. So, when we talk about the future of patience, are we just trying to survive the speed, or is there something more profound we're building towards?
That's a great distinction, Lisa. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. Remember how we started this journey back in episode 1? We introduced patience as an unseen superpower, a fundamental human capacity that we've perhaps allowed to atrophy. The future of patience is about consciously cultivating and strengthening that superpower, not as a reactive measure against speed, but as a proactive stance for a richer, more fulfilling life. It's about ensuring that our inner pace can hold its own and even guide our external world.
So, it's about integrating this practice into the very fabric of our lives, not just as a technique we pull out when we're frustrated, but as a guiding principle. How can we do that, especially when technology seems designed to short circuit patience at every turn? We have instant search results, on demand entertainment, rapid communication. It's a constant barrage of immediate rewards.
That's precisely the challenge. The future of patience requires us to be more intentional. Think of it like this. If technology is a powerful current, our patience is the anchor and the rudder. We need to actively choose where we want to be steered. This means making conscious decisions about our technology use. For example, we might set intentional periods for offline engagement or choose technologies that encourage deeper interaction rather than superficial skimming. It's about reclaiming our attention.
Reclaiming our attention. I like that. It's so easy to get swept along. So, beyond managing our devices, what else does sustaining patience in the future look like?
It involved a continued commitment to what we've discussed. Remember our exploration of delayed gratification in episode 7? The ability to wait for a larger, more meaningful reward is going to be even more critical. In a world of quick fixes, the capacity to invest time and effort for long-term benefits, whether in our careers, our relationships, or our personal growth, will distinguish those who simply react from those who truly create. This is about planting seeds for compound growth, as we touched on in episode 10.
Yes, the idea that a little bit of patient effort, applied consistently, can lead to exponential positive outcomes. That feels like a powerful antidote to the constant pressure for speed. And what about our relationships, which we discussed in episode 11?
Relationships remain a cornerstone. Patience in relationships is fundamentally about understanding, empathy, and forgiveness. As our interactions become more frequent, but potentially more superficial due to technology, the depth that patience brings becomes even more valuable. It's the patient listening, the willingness to understand a different perspective, the grace to overlook small offenses. These are the elements that build truly resilient and meaningful connections. The future of patience is also the future of our human connections.
And this links back perfectly to resilience, which we covered in episode 9. When we are patient, we're better equipped to weather the inevitable storms, the setbacks, the unexpected delays. We don't crumble when things don't go our way instantly.
Exactly. Patience isn't about passivity. It's about active engagement with life's complexities. It's the inner strength that allows us to navigate frustration, as we learned in episode 6, and to bounce back stronger. The future demands this kind of robustness. We need to see patience not as a limitation, but as an expansive capacity that allows us to hold more understanding, more resilience, more creativity, and ultimately, more joy.
So, to summarize this vital point, sustaining patience in a fast-paced world means being intentional about our technology, reaffirming the value of delayed gratification and long-term vision, nurturing deeper relationships through understanding, and strengthening our overall resilience. It's about cultivating what we started with in episode 1, that unseen superpower, and making sure it's robust enough for the world ahead.
Precisely. It's an ongoing practice. The pressures to speed up will likely intensify, but so too will the rewards of slowing down and being present. The future of patience is bright for those who choose to nurture it. It's about leading a life of purpose and depth rather than just a life of speed. It ensures that as the world outside accelerates, our inner world can remain a source of calm, clarity, and connection.
That's a truly inspiring note to end on for this episode. It makes the whole journey, from understanding the impatient brain in episode 2 to building our patience toolkit in episode 12, feel like a foundational investment in our future well-being.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Next episode, Your Patience Journey, Q&A, and listener stories. Welcome to the Patience Practice, your guide to slowing down and gaining more.
It's been an amazing ride, Alex. We've covered so much ground, from the science behind instant gratification to practical strategies for building patience in every part of our lives.
Absolutely. And this episode is all about you, our listeners. We've gathered some fantastic questions and stories that really bring the concepts we've discussed to life. Lisa, what's our first question?
All right, the first question comes from someone named Sarah, who asks, I understand the theory behind delaying gratification, but how do I actually stick with it when I feel an urge for something immediate? It feels like a constant battle. Sarah, that's a question many of us can relate to.
That's a great starting point. Sarah, this goes right back to our discussions about navigating discomfort. The key isn't to eliminate discomfort, but to learn how to navigate it. Think of that urge for immediate reward like a wave. It crests and then it subsides. Your goal isn't to stop the wave, but to learn to surf it. This means acknowledging the urge without acting on it immediately. Remember mindful waiting? The next time you feel that urge, try a simple pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Ask yourself, what do I really need right now? Often, the immediate craving isn't what you truly need for long-term well-being.
So, it's about creating that tiny space between the impulse and the action. We don't have to react instantly.
Exactly, Lisa. It's about building a mental buffer. Another technique is to visualize the long-term benefit. When you feel that pull, refocus on the larger goal. Is it saving for down payment? Achieving a career milestone? Improving your relationships? Picture that end result. That visual anchor can be incredibly powerful in overriding the immediate impulse.
That makes sense. It's like we're training our brains to recognize that the immediate pleasure is temporary, but the long-term reward is more substantial.
Precisely. Now, let's move to a listener story. We received an anonymized account from someone we'll call David. David wrote in about his experience implementing strategies for patience in his relationships. He shared how he used to get easily frustrated in conversations with his partner, often jumping to conclusions or reacting defensively.
Oh, I remember us talking about how important active listening and understanding are in relationships.
David described how he started practicing listening in conversations. Before responding, he would consciously pause, take a breath, and make sure he fully understood what his partner was saying. He even started jotting down key points mentally. He said it felt awkward at first, but over a few weeks, he noticed a dramatic shift.
What kind of shift did he see?
He reported fewer arguments, deeper understanding, and a general feeling of more connection. He said, I realized I wasn't truly listening before. I was just waiting for my turn to speak. Now, I feel like I'm truly engaging, and it's making all the difference. It's like I'm building a stronger foundation for our connection, brick by patient brick.
Wow, that's a powerful example of how patience isn't just about enduring things, but about actively improving them. Building stronger foundations, just like we talked about with compound growth, small, consistent efforts leading to significant results over time.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another question. This one from Maria, who asks, what's the biggest mistake people make when trying to cultivate patience?
That's a really insightful question, Maria. I think one of the biggest mistakes is expecting instantaneous results. They try a technique for a day or two and get discouraged when they slip up.
I agree, Lisa. That's precisely the trap of instant gratification rearing its head, even in our patience journey. The mistake is treating patience like a switch you flip rather than a muscle you strengthen. Rewiring those takes time and consistent effort. Another common mistake is being too hard on yourself when you falter. Patience isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Every time you catch yourself and try again, you're making progress.
It's about the learning process. If we get discouraged by a mistake, we're defeating the purpose of practicing patience.
Exactly. And related to that, a mistake is often trying to tackle too much at once. It's best to integrate strategies gradually. Pick one or two that resonate most and focus on making them habit. Once those feel more natural, then introduce another. It's progressive building.
So, a bit like planting seeds. You tend to one or two carefully, and then as they grow, you can add more.
Perfect analogy, Lisa. Now we have another wonderful story, this time from Kevin, who works in a high-pressure sales environment. He found the concepts of patience in the professional arena particularly challenging. He wrote, I was losing clients because I was too pushy, too eager for the quick sale. My manager was on my case, and I was stressed out. I started implementing moments of mindfulness, just taking a minute before making a call to center myself and focus on providing value, not just closing a deal.
And did that make a difference for him?
Kevin reported a significant increase in client retention and satisfaction. He said, by slowing down and genuinely listening to my clients' needs, I've built better relationships. This has actually led to more sales because people trust me. I'm not just a salesperson, I'm a trusted advisor. It's incredible the compound effect that a little bit of patience has on a career.
That's fantastic. It reinforces that patience is a strategic advantage in so many areas of life, not just a passive virtue.
It truly is. And this brings us to our final point for today, and indeed for the entire series. Patience is not a destination. It's a continuous journey. As we've seen throughout these episodes, the world will keep presenting us with opportunities to practice.
As we wrap up this series, it's important to remember the core themes. We started by understanding the unseen superpower of patience and the challenges posed by instant gratification, particularly how it wires our brains. We then explored how to cultivate this superpower through mindful moments and applying it to parenting, our careers, and relationships.
We delved into navigating frustration and the power of delayed gratification, learning that waiting can be an active and valuable practice. We saw how patience builds resilience, fuels long-term vision for compound growth, and deepens our connections. We equipped you with strategies and, in this episode, highlighted how integrating these practices leads to real-world success, just like David and Kevin shared.
So, as you continue on your patience journey, remember to be kind to yourself, celebrate the small victories, and keep practicing. You have the power to slow down and gain more.
Thank you all for joining us on this incredible series. It's been an honor to explore the patience practice with you. We hope you'll continue to apply these lessons, and we can't wait to see how your patience journeys unfold. Thanks for listening to the series.